Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're talking awards. We're giving our award predictions for 2021. We have 5 categories here. We do this every year. You know, sometimes we have some hits, sometimes we maybe don't look as good, but Jeff, I think, has a pretty decent track record at this. One year, I think, was like 20, must have been the 2019 season. Well, 2020 was tough with COVID. 2019, I think you hit pretty well. I'll have to find that list here in a minute, but the categories are MVP, breakout, bounce back, unexpected bust, and deep sleeper. And unexpected bust, I think, has actually been a decent category for us. We've been okay with that one usually. But We'll see how it plays out this year.
I'll tell you, injuries, it probably would have been Cam Akers this year. I know we were kind of hating on him. So I feel like a lot of these ones got shifted.
Yeah, and maybe MVP might, like we talked about last episode.
Honestly, breakout MVP. A lot of these guys went down early.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is, man. That's the life of fantasy football.
That's the preseason football. I just don't like it. I don't like it. Oh man, J.K. Dobbins, I'm hurt by that. I'm telling you, it's just, I was so confident in J.K. Dobbins this year. Like, I just knew this guy is going to just be awesome, right? And we'll never get to know how right we were.
No, it hurts my soul a little bit.
And I know we were right. We were definitely right. I mean, we can just claim it, I think, right?
Yeah. At this point, I can claim all of the predictions I made about people that got hurt. I feel like I'm already writing like 5 of them.
Well, so I don't have the 2020 list, but I do have the 2019 list that you put out. Mm-hmm. And your MVP was Christian McCaffrey. Your breakout was Dalvin Cook. Your unexpected bust was Le'Veon Bell. That played out, right? And your deep sleeper was actually Cole Beasley, which deep sleeper was beyond 80 at a position. Beasley finished like top 30 that year. So you had a great year. I didn't post my list. My list I can't find it because it was bad.
I think that was when Dalvin Cook was coming off that injury too. Yeah. So yeah.
It was a solid
anyway,
list,
so every once in a while we get.
We're good every once in a while, right?
Yeah, every once in a while. Every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
What category do you want to start with?
Let's see here. I don't know if we want to go MVP. Let's just start with breakout. We'll save MVP.
Okay.
Let's go breakout to start here. Who's your breakout player for this year?
So my breakout, and if you watched the last episode, he showed up in there too. I think my breakout this year is going to be Corey Davis. So once again, I'll keep it short. We've talked about him. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I really like the way Zach Wilson is winging the ball. They will need to throw the ball a lot because I think they're going to be, a kind of a poor team. And what I really love about it too is he's never really gotten this full shot, right? He was on Tennessee, which the last couple of years, obviously they were good, but they traded for Tannehill. They had Mariota before that. He just wasn't an NFL quarterback for the most part. He's had flashes, but he never really put it all together. And because of that, it really, really kept Corey Davis from ever, showing what he really could do when he was the number 1 wide receiver. And then they draft A.J. Brown, and then they get Tannehill. A.J. Brown overshadows him. They're already like the 30th. They rank as the 30th NFL team as far as how much they throw it because they have Derrick Henry, who is a beast. So all that stuff added up against Corey Davis. Now he's on a new team, young team, trying to find their identity. He's already showed a rapport with Zach Wilson, who looks like the real thing from arm talent wise. So I think this might be the first time that he gets enough targets from an accurate quarterback to show what he can do. And in Tennessee in 2018, which would be his second year, he did get 112 targets, but he only caught 65 of them for almost 900 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that was his best year. So it just shows how much this guy could improve. And that still was, I think he was like ranked the 27th wide receiver that year. So I think that the upside for Corey Davis, especially where he's going currently, is, out of this world. So that Corey Davis is going to be my breakout.
I'm, like I said last episode, I'm on board with Corey Davis. I think it's going to be a good season for him. I really, he's going to get, it seems like he's going to get a lot of targets. So I'm definitely on board for sure with Corey Davis. So, all right, my breakout for 2021, I'm going with Jerry Judy. I am all aboard the Jerry Judy hype train right now. I just listed him on Instagram, like on a few different lists, actually. Recently, I had Jerry Judy as my number one trending up player. And then I just did a little breakout list, and Jerry Judy was my number one breakout player for 2021. I mean, he has great talent coming out of, college. He showed it in spurts last year, but there was a little too many drops. Quarterback situation maybe wasn't great. I was actually kind of surprised. I thought Locke might win that job, and then it went to Bridgewater, which I think it's probably fine. I don't think Bridgewater is he's steady, I think, right? He's steady enough. He should be good enough for the team. I don't know. It's interesting. Drew Lock probably could have been sporadic. Could have been all over the board. We don't know. I thought he looked fine in preseason, to be honest. That's probably the best he's looked. But Bridgewater wins the job. I think Bridgewater's going to be fine for Jerry Judy. I just think that talent is going to show this year, and he's just going to have a massive season. Cortland Sutton's a good number 2. I like Cortland Sutton, but to me, he's going to be a number 2. Noah Fant, solid tight end. They got KJ Hamler. They got some guys. But Jerry Judy is going to come out and be that true number 1. I really think Jerry Judy is going to be, he's getting drafted back end, almost close to 30 right now. And I have him, I think, 20th in my ranks at this point. I easily see a top 20 finish, if not higher, top 15 for Jerry Judy. I love Jerry Judy this year. Yeah,
I can get behind this one. The drops are really the only thing that bugged me about last year. I mean, the team was a little out of it. And yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think Teddy Bridgewater is probably the correct decision for winning more games this year.
Right.
I don't think he's a long-term solution. Everyone kind of knows that. Locke could be still. He just made too many mental mistakes, and the coaching staff didn't feel good about him. But I don't think there's any. I think most people, when they watch them, they say, "Wow, Locke has more potential than Teddy does at this point in his career." Nothing against Bridgewater. So does that mean that they're gonna hold back the offense? Not necessarily, right? I don't think, like you said, I don't think it hurts him. Locke maybe can make a few more throws down the field. Mm-hmm. He does have quite the arm, but look, if you turn the ball over, it takes away opportunities in the red zone. It takes away opportunities to get a couple more catches. So overall, I think this is probably a good thing for Jerry Judy. I don't know if I agree with you that Jerry Judy will be the number 1 compared to Sutton this year. And I just wonder about that. Sutton is he is a freak when he's really at all, when he's fully healthy. And I just wonder if him and Bridgewater, being veterans, will kind of sync up early. And he's kind of more of a possession guy. So I do wonder, but if Jerry Judy gets his drops under control, which I think he can, the guy is unbelievable footwork. He's got speed. He can do it all. So I'm a huge fan of his too. I'm really hoping that they do well. So I like that pick a lot.
Devonte Adams had a drop problem early in his career too, and he turned that around. It's happened. People have had drop problems. They've turned it around. So I hope Judy's that next guy. I was say just in general with the Broncos, like not having Drew Lock as a starter here is a pretty good indication that they're done with Drew Lock. He's not their guy. Yeah. And they must have been. I'm trying to think of what happened in the draft this year, because they passed up Justin Fields and they passed up Mac Jones. They must have been convinced they were going to be able to get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I can't think of if they're that out on Drew Lock, and he's not even going to get a chance to start. Man, they had to have thought they were getting Rodgers. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Unless they thought, I don't know, because I know they really like their team and they do have a good roster of people. So maybe they just didn't want to pay that first round draft price for it. I don't know. But then again, you never really know what you got until they get to play. It just so happens that all 5 rookies look really good right now. So any team that passed up on them looks like an idiot.
Right. They've all had good preseasons. We'll see how it plays out though.
And if Bridgewater leads them to a good record, 10, 11 wins or something, which is possible. Then all of a sudden that's going to look like the correct pick. The correct way to go about it anyway.
All right. What about, let's go to bounce back player for 2021. Who you got?
So bounce back, there were so many people to choose from, and whether that just having a bad season, whether that
injury,
there's so many injuries last year. But the guy I went with, I don't think we've talked about him a whole lot. And I do think he's going to have a massive season. And I think he's going to look as good as he ever has, is going to be Austin Eckler. I think he's going to have a huge bounce back year. I think he's going to make Herbert life so much easier because he's going to be able to catch 100 passes from him. He's going to be able to run the ball. And the guy he really is. He's a smaller back, but he is a physical freak. If you ever watch, you can watch all sorts of YouTube videos on what this guy is able to do athletically, and it's mind blowing. I just love him because of the combo that he is. Like, he rushes, but really he's a wide receiver in the backfield. I just love what he brings to your team. You still have to draft him as like a top 10 running back, but just from everything that has happened and people doubting how much he was going to fall off even without the injury because of Tyrod Taylor being there, I think people have just forgotten how good this guy was when Phillip Rivers was there. So Austin Eckler is kind of an injury one. I think he should be back because he hasn't had real problems before this one. So I think he's going to come back in a very huge way.
So I never know what to think about him, to be honest. I just don't. So I've been forced. I had a couple spots where I could have picked Eckler and I didn't do it. So I had a draft the other night. It was Eckler. Who would you have picked here? Eckler or Antonio Gibson? I went Gibson.
I would go Gibson.
Would you? Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a little, in a weird way, it's safer because he's not coming off an injury. He's a young guy. Yeah. I feel like this is the year they're going to use him a ton. So I do lean towards Antonio.
Yes, Eckler just I need to see him do a full workload and really do it. And maybe this is the year that happens. If Eckler is able to play fully, he's going to be great. If he has the talent's there. Nothing about the talent. It's just we'll see.
And he's only had one year when he was just amazing, when he was a top 10 guy, right? So in 2019, he was the 7th overall running back. And that was obviously the next year. That's when he got hurt and they had Tyrod, but Herbert and all this. So that is why I still feel like he can be a bounce back, because he only really had one huge year and then he got injured immediately after.
Yep. All right. My bounce back. So there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of guys you could have picked. You could have gone different routes of injured guys. You could have gone wherever. I decided not to go with an injury guy. I went with a guy who just sucked. Some of it was his coach. Probably a lot of it was his coach. Maybe sad thing, his coach is still there. Maybe it's not. I went with Ezekiel Elliott. This is one I've been thinking about a lot, because Zeke obviously played a big role in fantasy for me last year. And if you watch the show, how disappointed I was. You could go either way with Zeke. Is he done? Is that what's going to happen? Could he be the bust? You could put him in that category. Maybe you will. You could go that way. I can see why people would go that and say, this is it. Running back. He's had a lot of carries. He's I don't know how old he is now, but he's at that point where it could be done. Gurley's done. Bell's done. All these other guys are done, right? Maybe Zeke's the next guy. I'm not sold that he's done. I really think it was the fact that Andy Dalton was their quarterback. It was terrible. Teams knew what to expect. They just stopped Zeke. He couldn't do anything else. With Dak there this year, with a second-year CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, that offense is opened up. Zeke isn't going to have to see these stacked boxes. And I think without that, he's going to be more, maybe he's not Zeke, like the peak one, the peak version of Ezekiel, like we saw before. Maybe that's gone. But I don't think we're going to see last year's Zeke. Oh my God, get stuffed 3 times on the one. Oh, flashbacks, man. Flashbacks right here. I mean, I would have been in the playoffs if he just got the ball in the end zone from the 1 yard line 3 times.
I know. And the funny
but he still might bounce back.
Okay. The funny thing about Zeke is he was unpredictable, but when you look at everything, he wasn't really that bad, actually.
Oh, he was terrible.
I know it feels like that, but he was still ranked like the 11th best running back.
He was, but there's a lot of injuries that got him to that point.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh no, without a doubt. But that's why I laughed, because I was looking at him and I was trying to figure out because I was actually looking at him for bust candidate.
I figured,
I was like, wow. I was like, he was really the 11th overall, because in my head I was like, yeah, you took him as the top 3 guy, right? So in my head I was like, wow, he didn't live up to the hype, which he didn't. Yeah, he's always been good. But I start wondering in my mind, because the amount of rushes he got did drop off by almost 60, right? So 55, 60 carries. And you're kind of like, okay, well, that makes sense. And because of that, he only has 6 touchdowns rushing, and his his targets and his receptions really didn't go up any all from the year before, which is kind of strange. You think that you would try to get him more involved with everything going on. With Dak coming back, having all three of these wide receivers, the way they played early in the year, his touchdowns can definitely go up, which so I kind of like the pick. But at the same time, do you really think he's going to get 300 rushes, or do you think it's going to be a lot more like that 240, 250 that he saw last year?
I can see it being more 240, 250. I could see that happening. I just feel like it's going to be more productive. I don't know if it's going to be more red zone carries. I just feel like those are going to be more productive carries, and he's going to I just feel. I feel better about it. I mean, he started the year with Dak there. He was a lot better. Let's see. When did Dak? I had this earlier. I got to find out this. When did Dak go down? Right.
I think game four.
Right. Is that what it was? So he played in. He got hurt in game 5. Right. So yeah. So I mean, he was decent. Like he had 96 yards and a touchdown. He caught a touchdown in game 1. He had 89. So I mean, overall yards, he had 127 yards in game 1 with 2 touchdowns. He had 122 yards in game 2 with a touchdown. Not as many yards. He only had about 60 yards in game 3, but a touchdown. So he was getting, that's those first 3 games, he had 4 touchdowns, decent yardage. Game 4 with Dak, he had 125 yards, no touchdowns that one. And then Dak gets hurt. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. Dak got hurt with 91 yards.
Hold it. He had, how many touchdowns did he have going into when Dak got hurt? Or so, like in those first 5, how many did he have?
Through 5 games, he had 6 touchdowns.
Okay.
He only had 1 more touchdown or 2 more touchdowns with the entire
8.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had 2 more touchdowns with the rest of the season.
Yeah. So I think
he had 6 in 5 games.
So that's why I like the idea of it opening up the touchdowns. But it's kind of funny that he was still ranked like the 11th. Like he was, a stone's throw from being in the top 10.
Yeah. It's mainly the early on stuff. He had 2 decent games the rest of the season. He had 21 carries, 103, and he had 19 carries, 105. The rest there weren't touchdowns. There weren't touchdowns involved.
Yeah, so we're not moving the ball productively.
Yeah. So Zeke.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to unexpected bust. I'm actually really curious. I have no idea who you're going to go with here.
Okay.
I'm curious. Let's hear where we're going.
Yeah.
Unexpected bust.
Before everyone freaks out.
This is the one where everyone hates us. I love it.
I know. The guy that I think is going to be unexpected bust is more about health than anything else, right? Health, how many games he's actually going to play fully, and how the team tries to hold it back in order to make sure he can be healthy when they get better and better. I'm actually picking Saquon. So Saquon Barkley, one of the most talented running backs in the league, if not the most freakishly talented athletes you will see, right? He's right up there with like Alvin Kamara and Zeke and stuff. But we don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1 right now. There's already who knows where these whispers are coming from, but they're talking about, okay, maybe he's not going to be as much of the bell cow as he was in years past. So they're going to, not only will maybe he miss a few games in the beginning, they might have to ramp him up. And then on top of that, by the time they get in the second half of the season, if they suck, which I assume they're not going to be very good, that at what point do you start, okay, maybe we give him 10 carries, maybe we just pull him out. So I don't like the situation as you're talking about a young guy coming off of an injury that they desperately need to in order to be good. If they're not good, I can see them pulling him, and I just don't trust the usage. And that's really why I'm picking Saquon here. I just don't trust it at all. But he is one of the most, and if he runs, he's gonna be productive if he plays like a full season. Don't get me wrong. So I could be very wrong on this one, but if it's me spending that kind of thing, I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to be a bust from numbers alone, and that might not have anything to do with him. It might have everything to do with the Giants and how much they decide to play him.
Yep. Saquon is obviously love the player. We've talked about him a few times where I think we talked about our do not draft list. There's just so much uncertainty. The team's not great, I don't think. You get a little worried. The value is not as bad anymore, though. It's fine, but yeah, I just don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. It's
still a first round pick, and that's the rough part. And I don't mind it. Like if you have to take that, you have to take that swing, right? He's that talented. I don't mind people taking the swing. I did not in any of my drafts. I get it. And like I said, when he plays, he will be a top 10 running back. There's no doubt about it. Even on a bad team, if he plays 16 games, he will end up in that top 10. But I don't think he's going to play a full season, and I don't think that the New York Giants are going to make him or have him do it, because I have a feeling they're going to be out of the playoff race, relatively quickly.
Yep. All right. My unexpected bust. This category really just gets us hate. I know it does. It does. I'm almost scared to say this one. I don't know if they're big fans of this guy. I went with Jonathan Taylor. So, Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if there's big Jonathan Taylor fans. I might get some real hate for this. So there's just a few reasons. Jonathan Taylor had a good end of last season. I'll say a good end of last season, right? Because remember, there was one point where like, what happened to Jonathan Taylor? Why is he getting out snapped by Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines? That was weird. Don't know what happened. Don't know why. But he came back and he was awesome at the end of the year, right? He was great. Those last 5 games, he was really good. Or last 6 games almost. But the last 4 games, in his last 4 games, he had 7 touchdowns in his last 4 games. 7 touchdowns in 4 games. He had 11 on the year. So 7 of those 11 touchdowns came in 4 games to end the year. He had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, 83 and a touchdown, 74 and 2. He ended the season against a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars team. Terrible. With 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. Massive, right? And that's the last thing anybody saw of Jonathan Taylor. And that's why they're just like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And he's good. He's good. But there's a couple different situations. Carson Wentz is still hurt. Their best offensive lineman, Quentin Nelson, is hurt right now. That's not good. Marlon Mack is back. Nyheim Hines isn't gone. It's just, there's just some question marks for me where he had a really good end of last season, but is that what he's going to be? And maybe he is, but there's just something about it where I'm like, this offense, maybe if Wentz doesn't get healthy and Nelson doesn't quite get healthy, how good is it? Could it all fall apart? And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but John Taylor, he could be unexpected bust this year. See, I wanted to go. There we go. We didn't chicken out though. We went with some names.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I like that pick. I took a long, hard look at him as well.
Yeah.
I eventually moved away from him because a few other things, but the things you talked about are legitimate reasons to be fearful, right? Quentin Nelson being probably gone for the first few weeks or whatever, or not being right. Wentz being gone, not sure how that's going to go. But we'll see. I think there's a lot of things that are going in his direction as well.
Yeah, there's some,
but there's definitely other things that are not. And the thing that worries me the most, even though I do think, he looks the part, but he hasn't, like you said, his last how many games were against poor defenses for the most part. He ripped them up, but how much does that tell us?
Yeah.
But I don't think he has a whole lot of people pushing him anymore, even Marlon Mack. Right. Was he coming back from Achilles or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, yeah.
And before we get too much hate, remember, we're not saying they're going to be a bust. We're just
potential unexpected.
Just beware. All right, let's go deep sleeper here. So deep sleeper, we always go way down the board on this one. So who is your deep sleeper for 2021? And this is just if this guy even is relevant for like 2 weeks in fantasy, we're like, okay, we win. that's pretty much what this category ends up being sometimes. But no, these are guys that we think there is a potential that they could do something and be relevant in fantasy for a decent amount of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I've grabbed, I put my money where my mouth is. I've grabbed this guy on some of the deeper leagues I have already. But my deep sleeper for this year is going to be Dwayne Eskridge. He is going to be the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver who's drafted this year. The guy has got some serious speed on him. He was a little bit banged up early on. He did not play. He finally played in this last preseason game. I think he caught like 1 ball for 19 yards. Great to see him on the field. That team is in desperate need of wide receivers. You have 1 and 2 lockdown, right? You have Lockett and you have DK Metcalf. Those guys will demand a lot of attention. But other than that, they've never really had anyone else. Every once in a while, a tight end like Hauster or something will make a splash, and then you'll grab him, and then he never catches another ball. I think that Eskridge could really be that third weapon. He could be more of a slot guy, more of a running, down the middle of the field, across to stretch it out because he is so fast. And he came from Western Michigan, a small team. So not anyone is really hyping this guy up. Right now, he is still ranked as the 106th wide receiver. That's how far down he is. I think he has a real chance to do something if he gets on the same page as Russell Wilson, because he could really be a great weapon.
I like the offense. I like having, he has a lot of potential there. I like that. I like the pick a lot. So I think this offense, if they go back to what they did at the beginning of last year, where Russell Wilson's throwing the ball around, that was awesome. That was where it was. Then I don't know what happened at the end of the year. It was boring.
I don't know either.
It wasn't exciting anymore. Let's go back to what Russell was at the beginning.
Yeah, and you have Chris Carson. You probably aren't so one-dimensional now. I really like it. So yeah, and man, I'm hoping this guy, I think, could really pay dividends, because the way he plays ball, he is, man, you just give him a little dump-off pass and he could be gone.
Yep. All right. I'll go with my deep sleeper. He's another wide receiver. This one is ranked currently 97th. I went with Quintez Cephus for the Lions. So a couple factors here. First off, there's nobody to throw the ball to. That's a big factor. So someone has to catch it. They just released Brashad Perriman, who we thought maybe would have an opportunity, but I guess didn't need Brashad Perriman. So they still got Tyrell Williams. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got Quintez Cephus and the TJ Hawkinson, obviously. But at wide receiver, I think this is how it's going to play out, where it looks like it's going to be Tyrell Williams and Cephus on the outside with probably St. Brown in the slot. That's what it kind of looks like it's going to play out. Man, what kind of receiving core the Lions have? I mean, Jesus, what's going on? But I think the Perriman release, actually, everyone just vaulted St. Brown right away with it. I think it meant more for Cephus, honestly, do. I think St. Brown's been fine, but Cephus is there. He's been established for a year now. He's going to get an opportunity, and he's getting, he's way down there, 97th right now. St. Brown's up to 76. So St. Brown's already 21 spots ahead of Cephus, but I would honestly rank him the other way around. I would rank Cephus ahead of St. Brown right now. I don't know if I'd drop St. Brown lower than 76, but I'd put Cephus into the 70s at least at this point. Ahead of him. He needs to go 20 spots higher than he's going. I mean, someone's going to catch the ball, right? I mean, yeah. I hope. If no one's catching the ball, it's going to be a painful year to watch Lions football.
Compared to,
I mean, it's always pain, right? It's always pain. It's always pain.
I like Amon-Ra better because I think that the intermediate and shorter routes, which I think he can catch a lot of balls, I think it's just more likely that he'll get more points that way. But I 100% agree that the dropping of Perriman definitely helped him out more, because otherwise he wouldn't have had a starting spot. So why wouldn't he, right?
Yeah, St. Brown was probably going to be in his role anyway. Like that's what people vaulted Perriman. No, I don't think that's not that. It didn't make a difference. I don't feel like as much. It means some maybe, but not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're both wide receivers, but I do feel like a slot position. They almost, like, teams nowadays draft for that, like specifically. It's almost a different position. So
in reality, though, TJ Hawkinson's the wide receiver one on this team, and he's not a wide receiver. He's the top pass catcher.
That's if he's healthy, right?
Yeah, he's their top pass catcher.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Final category, MVP. Who are we going with?
Well, after sharing my picks from 2 years ago, it's going to be kind of funny that I'm going back to Christian McCaffrey. I realized he's going to be the number one overall pick. There's not much I have to say about him. He was hurt all last year, but even when he was hurt, he played like 3 games, and every time he did, it was like double-digit points. He was amazing. And I just think that he is if he stays healthy, he's so head and shoulders better for fantasy than any other player right now, that I have to put him there. Like if you have him on your team and he is healthy, you have a chance to win every single game. So for me, he will be the MVP. It's boring. I know it's a boring pick, but it's just the way it is right now because McCaffrey is so dominant.
Yeah. Well, your pick probably would have been Dobbins.
It probably would have been. Yeah.
Could have been.
I think he had a chance to be a top 5 running back for it. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with McCaffrey. I mean, it's what it is. He's number one. If you have number one in draft, you don't even think twice, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. So, all right. Here we go. My MVP, Jeff. He's a player that you don't like to draft even. Alvin Kamara.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, Jameis won the role. So now
I feel good now. Now I feel great. We still have the hesitation, right? If Jameis throws some picks, does Taysom come in, right? That's our thing. I'm going to be of the assumption that no, it's all good. It's all good. Jameis is the guy. If that's the case, Jameis is the guy. Michael Thomas is out for 6 weeks minimum right now, or 5 weeks, whatever. It's he's on the PUP list. He's going to start the year on the PUP list. I think it's 6 weeks. So we won't see him until week 7 at the earliest. Marquez Callaway looked good, right? He showed some things. But that's what else do they have? Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway. Troutman's been hurt, right? I believe. Yep, Troutman's been hurt too.
Yeah, we don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1 or not.
We are going to get a healthy dose of Alvin Kamara. It is going to be the Alvin Kamara show. I don't see how it isn't.
Yeah, I know. I feel much better about it. Ever since Hill was kind of put on the back burner. But like you said, that definitely could change. Doesn't mean that they don't use Hill and he doesn't rush a bunch in. So I think there's things that can still derail him a little bit from, especially when we're talking about MVP. But yeah, I don't have any issue with that because Alvin Kamara is that good. And last year, I think I at the end of the year, I named him as MVP, like what I thought. And that's how good he was. And that was obviously with 4 games of Hill playing and whatnot. So I can't really argue against that one.
There you go. So there we go. There's our award predictions for 2021. All right. It's pretty much end of off season. It's crazy. Preseason's over.
Came up quick.
I mean, next week will be, it's time to go. It's time to start getting ready for week 1. So what we'll probably do, I think we'll probably start our mailbag episodes next week, actually get some questions in next week.
I think that'll be extremely fun.
Yeah. So we'll make a post on Instagram next week where probably like Monday of next week, go check it out. Instagram.com/fantasyfootballprofit. Get your questions in. We'll answer as many questions as we possibly can on the show next week. Cause I always love those episodes because we get on random stuff that we never would have thought to talk about on the show. So get your questions in. Go to Instagram.com/fantasyfootballprofit. Or if you want to email us, fantasyfootballprofit@gmail.com, send us your questions in there too. Or if you're listening on YouTube, at youtube.com/fantasyfootballprofit, put it in the comments. And we're going to get to as many as we can. So we'll do our mailbag episode. We might even have some, I don't know, maybe we'll do some waivers next week. There's already, I think we could. There's waivers already. I actually I put together a little list already. So maybe we'll do that too. So it's almost here.
I was going to say, Craig was already fiddling with one of his teams in one of our leagues. I think you dropped and picked up 4 people already.
Yeah, and I got some more moves for tomorrow night. Yep, ready to go.
But he had a perfect draft, everyone.
Of course. Perfect. 4 moves. That's all good.
No, that'll be great, especially going into week 1. I feel like there's still a lot of injuries. Things are shifting around. Like if you, most people have already, obviously, the vast majority of people have already drafted, but there's so many injuries and things shifting currently. And even week 1, going safe versus home run. Like I have Lamar, which I think is going to be phenomenal, but I also have Tom Brady and like I have both of them in one of my leagues. And I'm like, which one do I start? I'm going to start Tom Brady.
Yep.
But normally I'm going to start Lamar. So it all goes into, and how do you replace Dobbins if you didn't have Gus Edwards? How do you replace Etienne? Can you go 4 wide or 3 wide receivers if you have a flex spot? All those questions will be great.
Oh God, some of the relegation leagues have Dobbins and Etienne on the team.
Oh, I have. Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch. Running back is gonna be. It was already thin. You know what I mean? Like there's a few that I liked later on that were rising up, but they're hurt. Like we don't know if Swift is gonna be ready for week 1. Man, we're about to find out. Even Jonathan Taylor, like you're talking about, he could have a rough week 1.
Yeah, if Carson Wentz isn't there, what are they going to do? They're going to stack the box against him.
Yeah, and Quentin Nelson is gone, which is their best lineman. Yeah,
it's not going to be good. So, all right, that'll be next week. Yeah, get those questions in. We'll have a lot to talk about before we get going. And that waiver stuff, we'll talk waivers too, because I was saying, like last year, that would have got you James Robinson if you would have been, like there's players to be had. So,
and our deep sleepers, we talked about them, but those 2 guys could actually pay dividends. You're probably not starting them, but they might bust out in week 1 because they're probably going to both play. So those are the guys you want to get on your roster before anyone finds out about them.
Yep. It'll be good to at least get some names out there so you're aware of them. So if you have roster spots, maybe you throw one on. So, all right, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.